So you were thinking about selling your house, whether it be in the next month or in the next 6 months or in the next year. The conversation today is going to be about the list price versus your net proceeds. Those two, how those two relate or how they differentiate, and what you should look out for. Hey guys, I am Carlos Colon with Georgia Perimeter Homes, and let's jump right in. So, you want to sell your house, you need to, but maybe you've never done this before, or you have and you had a horrible experience. We need to talk about these two different things: your list price versus your net proceeds goal. Okay, I'm going to define the two for you, and then we'll jump into some of the differences between them and what you need to look out for when you're A, interviewing agents, and B, what they tell you about what you're going to get at the end. So, list price. This is going to be when either you list it on, whether it be an MLS, Zillow, Realtor.com, whatever the case might be. When you list your home, what is the price that you're going to be asking for your home? Okay, and so this is not the same as the other that we're going to define here, which is going to be your net proceeds from the sale. Okay, so the net proceeds from your sale is going to be the money or the amount of money that I want in my pocket as a seller when this is all said and done. This is what I want to receive. How do we get to that? Okay, that's my net proceeds, and my opinion is we need to focus more on this one, not so much this one. And the truth is the person that should be tying these two pieces together is your agent. They need to be the ones advising you on how this number leads to this number. And the truth is this could be all over the place. It depends on what the strategy is. And this is why a great agent will tell you what the strategy options are for you to make sure that we're getting at least this amount of money for you. And it may not always be clear, but realistically, I'll give you some examples. We could overprice your home on purpose, and a lot of sellers choose to do this, and they don't really think about the strategy, but it's not, the strategy could always be different. Let's talk about that particular strategy. If we're overpricing the home, the mental game here is the seller's thinking, well, I'd rather start high and work my way down than start too low and then not be able to go back up. There is some truth to this, but let's be honest, it also depends on where the market is today or at that particular time that you're listing. So we need to be aware of how your price will relate to the current market conditions and how that will affect what a buyer is actually going to offer you during those market conditions. If we're in a buyer's market and you list too high, your home's just going to sit there. And then the seller goes, well, that's okay. I'll just reduce. Well, what happens when you've done that and it's 6 months now into the listing and you still haven't sold or got a good buyer, and all the buyers are going, there must be something wrong with that house. You have to think these things through because they don't always add up to the real goal here. Because the second that a buyer thinks that there might be something wrong, that number will now drastically drop from what you're asking to what they're willing to offer, just because the buyer feels some hesitations about what might be wrong with that home, even when there's nothing wrong. So that's one strategy. Second, price it at what it's worth. Okay, this is usually the best strategy, in my opinion, but again, depends on your location, and what I mean by that's what area you are in and what does a market for a seller look like in what area you're in the time that you're listing your home. So if you're pricing it at the or listing it at what you want to in order to be able to get that net, well, you're not really thinking that through. And what I mean by that is, don't ever list your home for what you want to get at the end, which is your net proceeds, because you haven't even thought about the costs then associated with selling your home. And let's say that you weren't even listing with an agent, for example, there are always going to be costs no matter what. And so the benefit to having an agent is they're going to protect you on that net, or at least a good agent will. They're going to focus on what do you need to make from this in order to make this transition, A, either worthwhile, or B, comfortably. Because you don't want to sell your home and break even in most cases, right? You definitely don't want to sell your home and have to come out of pocket at closing at the end there. So we have to make sure that we walk that line steadily. So if you price your home at what an appraiser or what your agent says it's worth today to a buyer, at that point what will happen is they will pay typically very close to that asking price. And in some cases, you might create a multiple offer situation. It might go a little bit higher, which is okay too. That's a win. All right. So also the conditions in which, or the contingencies rather, that a buyer is willing to pay that price might be better and more in your favor. Whereas if you price it too high, a buyer might say, you know what, I'll give you your price, but I want my terms. And so that might sound like a great deal, but if you've got your mind set on this really high number and the appraisal that they have comes in way down here, you just got their price and their terms. This is up to your agent to walk you through with this. The last strategy that some agents recommend, which does work out in some cases, is let's price it low on purpose, knowing that we're going to get a multiple offer situation and it's going to drive us back up and it's going to give us the best terms at the same time. Maybe that's where we get that cash buyer. That can work out too. If we do this in a buyer's market though, that could work against you too. So again, this is where you defer to your agent. And if you're not given the information on the front side on what that should look like, find a new agent is the best way I can phrase it for you, because this is what we should be doing in order to be able to walk you through how to get you the net proceeds that you want out of the sale of your home, if not higher. So we've had several situations in which, for example, we've terminated the first transaction and we re-strategized and came back in, and within 7 days we had $5,000 or $10,000 above asking price with a cash quick close. And so we have to be willing to tweak and change that plan as we go along if the first plan's not working. Again, defer to your agent. They should be the professionals here and able to walk you through this. So there's a lot that we could go into with this, and for the sake of time and not overcomplicating this video, I'll leave it there. But if you have more questions about this or anything else to do with real estate, or you're considering buying or selling, please give us a call. Our number is 770-314-1285, and our website is www.georgiaperimeterhomes.com. Thanks.